Hello and welcome to all of you out there, astrology friends. I'm going to talk about the full moon in Leo and in general, just for all the signs on a collective level, what this is all about. And then very shortly for each sign, at what area of their life that it is highlighted. Now, first of all, this full moon in Leo, when does it occur? It occurs around and about the 5th of February. So the sun will be at 16 degrees of Aquarius, opposing, because that's a full moon, the moon in Leo at 16 degrees. So this is going to be the yearly full moon in Leo. Always around this time of the year we have that full moon. It's always a full moon in Leo is always one of the most jolly ones, you could say, because Leo represents fire, it represents spirit, it represents enjoyment and playfulness and romance as well. So, and of course, we're not far from the 14th of February, you know, but it is indeed a very energy of the heart, you could say, that we are going to tap into. And full moons are all about things that become clear, things that we see. The consciousness is like, oh, very, very open and very, very aware. That is what full moons are all about. It's about what we have done in the past. It shows itself, what the result is. And the thing is, if we have, so actually, all in all, it's one of the, you could say, it's one of the most positive full moons. Normally, it's one of the most positive full moons and one of the most party full moons as well, because Leo represents the 5th house, and the 5th house is all about having fun and being very much in the now and having that spontaneity. That is so Leo, you know, it's childlike energy. It's being in the now and fully engaged in the playfulness. And so I hope we will be able to tap into that for all of us. Now, we have to look at the aspects that are going on during that moment of the full moon, and that shows us the flavor. Now, the flavor is very Uranian, and it's not in a trine or in a beautiful aspect. It's in a tense aspect with a square. So on the one side, we're having Uranus at 15 degrees of Taurus, by the way. So on the one side, it squares the sun. So sun square Uranus, you could say. And on the other side, it squares the moon. Moon square Uranus. So we call that in astrology a T-square, which means tension. And again, astrology is not about this is good, this is bad. Don't fall into that. The art of life is to not react upon life, but respond in the way that you choose how to respond. And we have that free will. So again, here we have the free will to, although this is a challenging aspect, to go towards the constructive way, which is what the universe wants us to do. It wants us to pick up that Uranian energy in the most positive, constructive way, or in a negative way. In a negative way, it's very easy. It's breaking all bridges. It's the rebel. I compare people who've got energy in their, again, I refer to natal charts. When you look at a natal chart and you look at the sun square Uranus or a person with a moon square Uranus, there is a rebel energy in them. And especially when they are younger, they are going to be seen as that person with the more, you could say, negative side of Uranus, which is cutting cords, basically. It's because Uranus doesn't want to be put in a corner. That's what that is all about. It doesn't want to do things that it doesn't want to do. It's not going to do it, by the way. And but it's giving up something, which is the opposite of Uranus, which is connection. So, and you see that a lot when people have Uranus transits, like a Uranus square the sun or a Uranus square the moon, and you're doing a reading for such a person, it depends when a person is 18-year-old and when a person is 30. There is a difference. A young person will find it way more difficult to deal with these energies in a positive way because they want to free themselves up. They just want to cut the cords in a relationship, and maybe for the first time it's going a little bit difficult. They're cutting the cords. Thank you very much. Disconnect. That is what Uranus can do very easily. But of course, that has consequences. And so it's always better when a person has a little bit more Saturnal life experience, you could say, because then they can see the freedom that is available there, but also without cutting those cords so strongly and without disconnecting completely. So this is what this energy is all about. So we will all feel, and definitely don't forget that Leo is all about drama, and it's the drama queen, right? We all have Leo somewhere in our chart, and it's definitely in a positive way. Leo is warmth and is loyalty. So let's hope that we go for that instead of, the Leo pride and it's all for me, and the selfishness that is quite often seen with the sign of Leo. And but there will be a price to pay when people, for some people, they will have to disconnect with something or someone very strongly because this energy shows it. But those people, they will, again, if you feel that, I really have to disconnect with something or someone, it is our free will that is going to say, hey, we're going to do that, but we're going to take the consequences. So know that the consequence is always connection. That's always with Uranus. It's always the connection. If you can deal without the connection, and if you say to yourself, I'm better off without it, then this energy is actually tremendously positive for people who and definitely in abusive situations, in very negative, toxic energies, to cut cords with that. This is a good energy to do so, because it's going to give you that individuality, that independence, that fire, that I had enough kind of energy. Sometimes you need that, right? You need to be a bit overly doing that in order to become more balanced. So, and in other occasions, this will be a disconnecting with a far more gentle energy, with depending on what else is going on in the chart. But with an honesty is very much associated with Uranus. Truthfulness, honesty, intuition, and Uranus is quick. So it's like all of a sudden, but for other people, it seems all of a sudden, but it is not. It has been a building up. So Uranus is all about, and definitely to a square to the sun, a square to the moon. This is all about freeing yourself up. And in a way, you could say, like, this job, I had it, I cut the cords, and I'm going. So make sure that you have another job. That is basically what I'm trying to say here. And even if you don't, that you feel secure enough. And this is the whole thing, security. It's the opposite of Uranus. So that you feel Saturnal secure enough that you will be fine. I've seen many people with these transits making the biggest decisions of their lives, and it demands courage tremendously, because the other side of Uranus is indeed, can you deal without that connection? Let's say it's a job that you've been doing for 20 years. So cutting the cords with a job of 20 years is not easy. But with this Uranus, you can do it, it seems, all of a sudden, but actually you've been preparing this and bottling it up for 20 years. So for you, it might seem easy to do. And for others, they're going to look like, what's happening with this person? You see what I mean? It's like people who haven't said their truth for a long time, they can act like this. You know, it's the woman in a relationship, or the man, it doesn't matter. But as an example, that has been saying that has been, years after years putting up with her husband that has never given her permission to do something or to say something. A woman that has been bottling up. Now all of a sudden with this Uranus, it can really mean like, I'm off here, I'm gone. And then the husband is like full of disaster and not understanding this. She can't live without me. But in all those years before this happens, she had a plan, consciously or unconsciously, of having another network so that she won't be alone. Also financial plan, and so on and so on. So for her, it's actually an easy thing now. But the 20 years before wasn't easy. You see? So Uranus is definitely a liberator. It's one of my favorite transits to see in readings for people when they have been stuck for a long time. But of course, as I said, you will have to deal with the consequences of saying goodbye to something that is not serving you anymore. And the thing is, dear astrology friends, out of experience, in my humble opinion, Uranus is not going to take away something that is still important for you in your life. It's not. So when you are at the other side, when all of a sudden an employer says, thank you very much, done with the contract, or a person or whatever, think that although it might be hard and very disconnected and very, you don't know where you are at, and you feel like you are totally insecure now, know that it is best for you, and that the universe has a bigger plan for you that is way better for you. So the truthfulness of Uranus, if you go with it, it's definitely a wake-up call. It's the inspiration. It's the fire. It's the aha moment. I mean, on steroids here. Why? Because it's in that T-square with the two lights, right? The sun and the moon. So it's a pretty important full moon. And it depends on how you deal with it. So if you feel that you want to cut cords with something, it is time. And if you feel that someone on something wants to cut cords with you, let it happen. It's going to be easier. Then fighting Uranus is impossible. Uranus is a planet of renewal. It's the planet also of the revolution. And that is associated with that. So we are strong, but the universe is stronger, or nature is stronger. And I hope for all of you that you've got something or someone that you can liberate yourself from. And remember, when you don't have to disconnect completely, distancing yourself from something or someone can be a very healthy thing at the moment. But totally disconnecting, I don't say it is not always necessary, unless of course it's very toxic, it's very abusive, and then you can take your power back, you can take your freedom back. It's more like that. Instead of taking your power back is more a Plutonian thing. But let's get started and see for all the signs in what area this is all about. Now, meanwhile, whilst this is about breakthroughs, right, and but a bit unsettling. And but if you know that you need to have a breakthrough, even, and if you know it's going to be unsettling, but I know that I'm going somewhere, it can give courage. It's a very courageous planet. You know, when you have Uranus transits, you need courage to do so. Talking about courage, during this 5th of February energy, the Mars is squaring up to Venus. So that's another indicator that relationships, there's a lot of unbalance at the moment. So for some of you, it's not all going to be that drastic. It's just like in relationship, when Venus squares Mars, it's about one person is taking too much and the other person is giving too much. It's as simple as that. That's a Venus square Mars in a nutshell. So it's a rebalancing, a balancing out of these energies. So it could seem like you're distancing yourself, but then the balance will be back of the relationship. You see what I mean? So it's not always that, cutting the cords, thank you very much, and adios. farewell. But yes, it's for restoring. Okay, so these horoscopes, I don't want to make them sound too dramatic, especially now because of the moon in Leo. It's going to be already quite dramatic. Anyways, for Aries people, what is going on here? It's your 5th house. So this is all about romance. This is all about love. This is what you love to do. So this part of your chart is going to be highlighted. So it's going to be this energy of the heart, of the spirit, of falling in love, of having love for your children, having love for a project. There is something that Uranus is triggering here, and Uranus is in your 2nd house. So this could mean that your value, the value that you have with other people, it's clashing. And that has a knock-on effect with changes that can happen in your 5th house. So it could mean that children are a bit the trigger in your relationship. It could mean that a project that you want to do, and or a business of your own, which is also the 5th house. You want to do that, or you want to do a hobby, and it's disturbing those values between you and another person. And so that's it, basically. The liberation is in your 2nd house. So you will have a tendency of wanting more freedom, financial freedom. And ask yourself why. If you would have all the money, what would you do? And have a look at how you can do it already now. Let's say you want to have more money to build your own business, right? But what can you do today to already start that? I mean, creating a website for things that you want to sell, it's not going to create the biggest amount of money to do that. You see what I mean? So be honest with yourself, around your self-worth, around the talents that you have, the 2nd house. Beautiful energy. Taurians, this is all highlighted your emotions. So this is a very emotional full moon for you. And it's all about your emotional well-being, your home, your family, your roots, where you're coming from, and how you want to nurture that in a more way of, you could say, in a way that you want to be more you, because this Uranus is in your sign, it's in Taurus. So it's you that is reacting probably in a more distant way or disconnect. So it's actually your time now to disconnect with the things. I would not say disconnect. I would use the word distance yourself from people, from work, from actually all key areas of your life that are not vibrating on your level, that are not really giving you, like for people it's simple. If people are not investing in you, don't invest in them. For work and a job, if it doesn't feel that you are excited by doing it, it might be time now to look for another job and to prepare yourself for that. You know, the sooner the better, actually. Or maybe you have been doing that. Excuse me. But for a lot of Taurians, it's about speaking their truth. It's about speaking their truth. It's time. So definitely Taurians who will have planets around 16 degrees, they're going to feel it. You know, these are the Taurians who were born between the 5th of May and the 8th of May, 8th, 9th of May. They are going to feel it tremendously. So there is some, if you want to liberate yourself, or you've got all of the energy to do it. But again, think about what I said in the beginning, the consequences. Geminis, this is happening in your 3rd house, this full moon. It's actually a pretty nice full moon for you, because this energy of Leo sextiles your energy, and that could be like something lights up or something is important in your 3rd house, which is the house of communication. Excuse me. So it could mean that you want to communicate something, and it's with a lot of, you know, Leo. Let's use the positive side of Leo, which is your own uniqueness. And let's not use the drama queen kind of energy in the way that you put words out of your mouth. But anyway, you can have a message there. You could have it's a very social energy, very social energy. But Uranus is triggering your 12th house. So this is about, like the universe saying to you, those old patterns, come on, release them, please. Thank you very much. Releasing old luggage that is no longer suiting you. And that is through your communication with people around you, with siblings. There could be some distancing there, or renewal, right? It depends on how your situation is. If it would be a time where you have to speak at your job, doing a conference or doing a meeting or whatever, my goodness me, you're going to shock them, and hopefully in a good way. And but this is about speaking your truth, but use your wittiness and your charm to put that in the most charming, gentle way. On another level, it could mean a short trip, that you could be making a short trip, learning, or you have learned something new and now it shows that what you've done recently, and maybe it has to do with exams, it has to do with you teaching others as well. That could mean also that you are teaching others, learning, but it's more the fruition, you could say, because of this full moon. So the outcome could be totally different. So expect the unexpected. Cancerians, this is happening in your second house. So this is all about your value, how you value your finances as well. And but I think a lot has to do with what you find important in life, and this is highlighted. And how the confidence that you gain is that it comes from within, and that it doesn't come from other people. That is so important for you, Cancerians, at the moment. And the trigger of the freedom is in your 11th house. So you could be triggered by friends or a friend, or by like-minded people. They show you something. They could act also in a very way that you've never seen before, for better or for worse. Whatever it is, what they're doing, their way of acting has a knock-on effect on yourself. So that you say, like, something highlights within you that has to do with your value and how you value you versus other people, how you get value from other people. And it's a lot about, you need more validation from the self rather than you're getting it from other people. It's a bit more like that. For Leos, of course, this is all about you. This is your time, especially if you have planets around 16 degrees of Leo. You will feel this tremendously. This is about you showing who you are. And Uranus in the 10th shows that there could be some circumstances that are coming out, that seem to come out of the blue, that change up, and that you want liberation. And the 10th house is work. So for a lot of you, this has to do with work as well, but also with your relationship. So it has to do with every key area of your life, because this is happening in your sign. So for you, the whole beginning was applicable, you could say. If you feel now that you want to distance yourself, or that you want to have a new course, it's on now, it is possible. And know very well that will change your connections for sure, but also what you have been loyal towards. So it could simply mean indeed that you want to be independent when it comes to being your own boss, or at least working for someone who sees that you need to be your own authentic self. And that takes a lot of courage, and you've got it. So it could also, if this is like, oh yeah, business as usual, if this has been going on for a long time, this could be actually a very liberating energy. That you say, finally, that the preparation before was much harder than now the conclusion. So if that is the case, well done. Virgos, this is a very you could say behind the scenes kind of full moon for you, because this is happening in the 12th house, so the sign just before you. And this full moon shows lighting up of the unconscious. So Uranus is in your 6th house. Uranus is in your 9th house. So the trigger of liberation could be travel. It could be travel, studying, learning. So because something unpredictable, something very unpredictable could happen during a traveling. So, and that is a bit unsettling because of your day-to-day routines and how you handle all of this on a conscious level versus an unconscious level, unconscious patterns that are running you, and now you have that opportunity to put it upside down. And but as Uranus trines your energy, it's actually something that you've consciously or unconsciously been wanting for a long time. So there could be a liberation coming up for you that is a consequence of studying that you've been doing or traveling. And so something very unpredictable there. But again, there is this, you could say, highlight of your unconsciousness. If you're, of course, someone who prefers to put your head in the sand, this could be really, really something that you didn't expect at all. But if you're someone who's interested in your dreams and the unconscious mind and your blind spots, this will be very welcome for you. Librans, it's happening in your 11th house. So this is a very, you could say, Jolie energy for you, because Leo sextiles your energy, and the 11th house is the house of friends. So if you can do something with friends, have a good time with them for sure. And this is all about how you can feel the support. I mean, on a heart level from like-minded people. This is very, very networking energy, and it squares up to Uranus. So there is something when it comes to your deep psychological understanding of life that is triggering there with the Uranus, and that wants to show you what you were all about and the transformation that this is taking. It could also mean that because of a friend or a connection with a friend, there is a transformation going on. So let's hope it's a good one, right? So that it gets an upgrade. But it could also mean that it is a distancing from a certain friend, and that is really necessary for you to to stand up for what you like, but also in a balance between a group of people. Scorpio's 10th house, now this moon in your 10th house. The 10th house is about your work, your job, a parent, but it highlights how you want to be seen in front of the world and what you want to be exuding on planet Earth, you could say. Of course, the trigger is other people, and Uranus is in your 7th house. So you have been consciously or unconsciously wanting to change your attitude towards relationships, a totally different new attitude with a lot more space for yourself and also for others. Either other people are demanding space from you, or you are demanding space from someone else. And but again, that can even trigger changes in your career, because so you have really this energy by maybe a business partner that you've always been working with, and that has been, Scorpios are like typically like that. They store and they suppress and suppress and suppress, and all of a sudden it comes and they had it, and people think, is that person so cold? No, that person is not cold. That person had enough, right? So it could be a business partner that you've been dealing with that was no longer suiting you, and that you now end that business partnership or a relationship as well. But again, mind you that it is all about what has been happening in the past, and now you can make here this don't forget that Mars also squares Venus, right, which is the first ruler of your chart, and the 7th house ruler, which is a relationship. So there is an imbalance here for sure between you and other people. and you have to rebalance that. So make sure you don't do it too extreme, because you are known for that as a Scorpio. So but again, Scorpios, although they are known for the extreme, it is also because they love extremely. They can love so deeply, and they tolerate so much from their connections. They really do. It is the sign that tolerates a lot. And sometimes they have to distance themselves. So you could be dealing with a connection like this at the moment for protecting the self. Sagittarians, this is in your 9th house. It's in a fellow. I really love it for the Sagittarians. And if you can, go out there, go travel, because this is happening in your 9th house, or do something cultural, or study something, or learn something, or teach, or write, or expose something. That is from the heart, I'm a Sagittarius rising. For me, this could be travel. This could be making a video where I feel, during that time that I feel like I'm connected with everything. The 9th house is a lot about the divine and about your connection with that. And in a trine, it shows that this is a deep connection. You could be also, it's the houses of learning and teaching. So you could be learning something, teaching, or and something that has to do with philosophy, astronomy, astrology, all those kinds of things that just connect all the dots, basically. And the trigger is your day-to-day life. So Uranus in the 6th can mean that, your day-to-day life is shifting, and it's getting more, at the most positive way, more exciting. And also your health. So make sure that if you have some health problems, of course, you do what you have to do. If you have to do surgery, if you have to go to doctors, and do so very much. I'm always an advocate of doing complementary stuff, which is the conservative way of, going to a doctor and so on, but also some alternatives. And this is definitely that alternative way to be highlighted, which could mean, like, for instance, if you're having a problem, Taurus, that could be, Taurus is all about the throat, right? So you could have some problems with the throat, for instance, and you have been doing everything when it comes to classical medicine, right? You have been having a surgery, and they can't do really anything for you anymore. And all of a sudden you say to yourself, like, or someone says to you, why not going to acupuncture or chiropractor? You do that, and bam, you're done with the complaints. Again, I'm not suggesting here that you have to, I have to be really careful here, because people sometimes only hear what they want to hear, and they don't want to go to the doctor anymore. I'm definitely not someone who supports that. Again, that combination could be really interesting for you to improve your health and to improve a problem that has been going on for a long time, and now all of a sudden it kind of resolves. Capricorns, this is happening in your 8th house. So there is a change, a very transformational change for you going on, highlighted by your 5th house, because that is where Uranus is. So it could be, the trigger could be a child that is doing rebellious stuff, or it could mean love, right? That all of a sudden you're in love or out of love. All of a sudden could be that as well, and it has an effect on your 8th house, which could, when it's in love, it could mean, of course, the shared resources that you have with someone else, that there is a transformation there. It could also mean, when all of a sudden you fall in love, that intimacy, right? It could mean it high, and in Leo, it's wow, it's very passionate there. It's very beautiful energy, although it is a bit unsettling because of the Uranus. It's not something that you expected. So I hope this is something that you are open to. It can also mean a hobby that you all of a sudden you're going to do a new hobby that you've never done before. And that has a very deep changing effect on your psychology. Like, you understand yourself better, you transform because of that. Aquarians, of course, this is for you a very, very important time. not only for you, it's Aquarius time, right, with the birthday, but having this full moon in your seventh house is all about your relationships. If you are in a relationship, or even if you're not, I mean, this is about your attitude, how you do relationships. So someone is going to show you a lot. And I say someone because the moon is in your seventh house of other people. So they could really show their needs. And because of that, it prompts you to look at your own needs as well. Because the sun is in your first house. And it squares up to Uranus, so in the fourth house, so you could get really, really emotional and triggered. So that you are one of those signs. Make sure that you don't react too quick because of the drama of another person, or because of your own drama that you are doing with another person. Know that there is an imbalance that has to do with how you parent yourself. There needs to be a new way here invented and created, and in an innovative way of how you parent yourself. That is a true beauty of Uranus going through the fourth house, which is unsettling for a lot of people. But if you're doing it with that intention, you are going to get the most out of it. And so definitely also the beginning that I said about in the video is definitely applicable for you. It's a lot about honesty, truthfulness. It's a lot about imbalance in relationships, Venus square Mars, that is happening at the same time. So restoring the relationship, dear Aquarians, and finding your truth and knowing that what no longer suits you, it's meant to be, it's meant to be that way, and that is giving you strength. Aquarians are those people that find strengths in innovative, creative new things. So they need to do that in their, originality as well. So it could be one of those, certainly when you have planets around 16 degrees, it could be a very crucial period of very important choices. So be aware of what you choose, is a very important one. And do it before this full moon, thinking of when that would be a distancing of a job or of a person, more so of a person. Could I deal with that, with that distance? And if the answer is yes, it gives you clarity, not only clarity, but also it gives you the yes of not only the universe, but also of you. So that is co-creating, and that gives you power, for sure. And intuition. So follow your intuition as well. Absolutely. Pisces, this is happening in your sixth house. So something changes in your day-to-day life, or in your routines that you're doing, or even with your health. Something is prompting you to see like, oh, this is what is happening. And the trigger is the third house. So you've got Uranus in your third house. So the trigger of changes that need to occur can be given by a neighbor, by a sibling, by people in a neighborhood, by something that you learn, by something that you teach, by a short trip that you're doing. This can be really, truthfully, your whole life, your day-to-day routines are going to change drastically because of that. So if you're going on a short trip, make sure that you're ready for some Uranian changes, which is all of a sudden changes. And but keep in mind that it's for the good in the long run. I mean, other than that, also make sure that there is a balance between your routines and between the letting go. So that you don't want to escape, right? But because the 12th house is also highlighted by the sun, and but mind you that Saturn is there, so you're going to be reminded that escape is certainly not the best in the long run. And but of course, yeah, if you're taking a short trip just to escape life for a week or so, this is not going to be drastic, but it can be very important, because when you come back, to still have the energy to go on with your old life. And that is now possible to change that. So if you come home after a trip, that you can pick up your life in a new way that you have never felt before. Really possible there, for sure. So a change in mindset is here, and an open mindset, a fresh mindset, like an 18-year-old that is going to college and having an open mind of what it's going to learn. You know, it's that kind of vibe. Having said that, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy this very Uranian kind of full moon, and all the best to you out there. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.